Well, the old Hyundai Tucson was as memorable and as desirable, say, as maybe a replica Swiss watch. I mean, yeah, not good at all, worthless. But the new one really looks smashing and is as desirable as a genuine Swiss timepiece. And I mean, just have a look at it. It looks smashing, doesn't it? But don't take my word, go to a Hyundai dealership and have a look at this car. You will really be wowed by it. But right now, the time is telling me that I should get inside and tell you how good the interiors are. So let's get started. Well, so here I am inside the cabin of the all-new Hyundai Tucson. Well, if you like the cabin ambience as well as the quality of the Creta, you will simply love the cabin ambience as well as overall quality of the Tucson. And why is that? Well, simply because all the plastics inside the cabin are made from the best quality materials. The switchgear really has a very nice and tactile feel, and the cabin really does reek quality. Well, being a Hyundai means that this car is really loaded with features and you get all the bells and whistles, and at the moment I don't have time to explain all of them, but you can head to our website by clicking on this link over here and finding them out for yourself. Well, because it is an SUV, the Tucson has to offer you good practicality, and it does not disappoint because you get this huge glove box where you can keep your cell phone, your wallet, a couple of Diet Coke cans, and it really is very, very deep. You also get two big cup holders over here, and you also get a big tray up ahead where you can keep your cell phone and wallet, and the door bins are really large enough to house that big 1 liter bottle from your home. And even the glove box is pretty big and has a nice damping effect to add to the feeling of luxury as well. Well, among other things, you get automatic wipers, you get automatic headlamps, and you also get a big 8-inch touchscreen over here for the infotainment system, which really has very good legibility and is very easy to operate. Well, Hyundai seems to have taken the luxury game really seriously, and the rear seats of the Tucson really are supreme in terms of comfort, and to be honest, these are the best seats available at this price point when it comes to overall cushioning as well as space. As you can see, knee room is more than adequate, headroom is more than generous as well, even for someone who is my height, which for reference is 5'10", and it is a pretty wide car at the back, which means you can generally house 3 occupants in good comfort. And even though there is a bit of a hump in the floor panel, it's not really very tall, and even the footwells are pretty large to accommodate the feet of whoever is sitting here in the middle. So overall, really a fantastic car in terms of overall comfort in the second row. Well, you also get your own AC vents at the back, and you also get big enough door bins to house that big bottle from your home. The only slight downside, and I am nitpicking at the moment, is the fact that from the outside the car has a raising waistline, which means that the window area at the back is slightly smaller, and what that means is that you can feel a little hemmed in over those long distances. But remember, I am just nitpicking. Overall, this is a very good place for comfort. Well, so big SUV needs to offer you a big boot, and the Hyundai Tucson does not disappoint in that department. I'll show that to you in a second after the slow-moving tailgate finally opens up. Yes, this is a little disappointing. Imagine if you've got your hands full with bags, and you know what I mean. It's going to be a while before the boot opens up. Anyways, as you can see, it's a nice boot. It's a very large boot, minimal suspension intrusion into it, and no loading lip at all. So what all that means is that Hyundai gets full marks in terms of the boot department when it comes to Tucson. The only negative is this. It really does take an age to shut and open up. Well, so here I'm driving the all-new Hyundai Tucson, and remember, this car comes with 2 engine options. There's a 2-liter petrol as well as a 2-liter diesel. Now, the petrol engine makes about 154 bhp of power, whereas the diesel engine makes about 184 bhp, and the diesel also makes a lot more torque. So this is the engine that you need to really go for. But when you start it off, you won't be able to tell if you're driving a petrol or a diesel, because even the diesel is superb in terms of refinement. It is phenomenal, really, to say the least, because it's so quiet. Hyundai really has done a fantastic job in terms of the NVH levels inside the car, and noise and vibration levels even from the diesel engine are as good as any petrol engine out there. Well, unlike a lot of other diesel engines where the power only starts coming in after 2000 rpm, on this engine the power starts coming in from about 1700-1800 rpm, so it is a lot more responsive than traditional common rail engines. So, and as I just mentioned, it is really quiet, which means that even when you rev it really hard, someone who's sitting in the back seat will still not be able to tell if it's a diesel or a petrol, because it is superb in terms of refinement. Well, the petrol engine, which we've driven briefly, is pretty smooth and pretty relaxed, but yes, it does not have the same amount of power delivery or torque available on offer as the diesel engine, so performance obviously is slightly lower than this car. So if you are someone who enjoys those long highway trips or a trip up the hills on a very regular basis, then it's better to stick with the diesel. It might be a little more expensive to buy initially, but the thrill of driving as well as the low running costs ensure that this will be the better bet in the longer run. Well, so you get a drive mode button over here, which means that you can select between the eco mode as well as the sport mode. And when you of course choose the eco mode, this car gives you better fuel efficiency, but it feels a lot more lazier to throttle inputs, which is quite okay. But of course, when you choose the sport mode, the Tucson feels, the engine feels a lot more lively, it feels a lot more responsive, and it feels a lot more keen to deliver a lot more power. So this is of course the mode that you should be driving if you are a keen driver. Well, both the manual and the automatic are 6-speed units, which means that flexibility on the highway is never compromised. And these gearboxes also aid the engine, because remember, when the engine is spinning at about 2000 rpm, the car is actually doing speeds of around 100 or 110 kph, and that leaves the cabin a very calm place to be in. Well, the manual gearbox on the diesel engine is pretty good. It's a typical Hyundai unit, which means that it does not need a heavy hand to shift. It is pretty slick as well, and the clutch action is also pretty good. The automatic, which we are driving at the moment, is also pretty good. It is a slick unit because it does not really have a lot of lag between gear shifts, and the gears shift up and down very fast, so that's a good thing if you are someone who really does enjoy quick acceleration maneuvers. You can also use the gearbox manually by of course shifting it towards the right, and it is a pretty quick weighted gearbox. So overall, Hyundai seems to have done a good job with both the manual as well as the automatic gearbox. Well, one area where Hyundai is making rapid progress is in the dynamic abilities of their cars, and the Tucson is no different. This car feels very agile. It feels pretty keen to change lanes, and the chassis also feels very sporty. Even though it is a pretty big car, you won't feel nervous when you're pushing it into those hilly sections, because the grip levels from the tires are very good, and the steering wheel also gives you very positive feedback. So overall, Hyundai seems to have done a very good job with the handling of this car, and they managed to do this without compromising on the ride comfort. Yes, the ride comfort inside the Tucson is very good. Even at slow city speeds, when you are of course maneuvering over those rumble strips, you don't really have to slow down because this car simply glides over them. And when you're on the highway, this car feels rock solid, very steady and very stable. And what also aids handling is the fact that body roll is very minimal and is always under control. Well, so overall, this car's overall handling as well as overall noise and vibration levels are as good as some of its German rivals, which retail at a much higher price point. Well, when you are doing city speeds, it's only the very sharp crevices or those really bad speed breakers which will affect the cabin, because the suspension is slightly tuned towards the harder side, which means that stability on the highway is excellent. Well, special mention must be made of the braking of the new Tucson, because this car, remember, comes with all 4-wheel disc brakes and the braking is excellent. Well, so Hyundai simply is getting into a league of its own when it comes to cars which look good, are good to sit in and drive, and don't cost a bomb, unlike some of its German rivals. So really, Hyundai is on a very quick path to some solid progress. Well, so overall, the Tucson really has moved the game really up for Hyundai. This car not only offers you class-leading interiors, but also is dynamically a very adept product. And Hyundai is much closer now, in fact, is even better in some departments than its more expensive German rivals. And what all that means is that if you're in the market for an SUV and have a budget of about 20 lakh rupees, then the Tucson really should be your only choice. It really is that good. So what all that means is that even though I haven't been paid by Hyundai to say it, I will endorse the Hyundai Tucson as the best SUV at a price of roughly about 20 lakh rupees here in India. It really is that good.